I mean, just steps into it with every ounce of his body. Perfect right hand. So, the fact that Jake Paul wants to fight that guy, hey, I'll watch. I'm gonna watch.
I said that you should coach Joshua, and he agreed. He liked the idea. Joshua, Mike Tyson will coach him.
He's been there, seen it, he's done it all.
I think that'd be good.
No sparring though. No sparring.
Voice would you give to somebody like AJ?
That he has a lot of talent and not to get discouraged. He only loses when he quits. When you quit, all the doors, the opportunities close. You know what I mean? You have to be game, and then don't get discouraged if you lose. Listen, you just lost.
Joe Rogan reacts to Anthony Joshua reportedly training with Mike Tyson, saying this proves how seriously AJ is preparing for Jake Paul. Rogan explains that if Joshua enters the ring with that level of intensity, he can overwhelm Jake instantly because the size gap and experience difference are far too big. He points out that Jake has never faced a heavyweight with real power, real pedigree, and real pressure, meaning this matchup puts him in a situation he has never faced before.
Said Anthony Joshua is not going to just lose the weight beforehand. He's not going to come in drained. What he's going to do is just do extra cardio, and that's just going to make him more dangerous. He's going to be terrifying, and he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry that Jake Paul wants to fight him.
Talks about shocking the world and inspiring the next generation. But even while he speaks, his tone shows he understands the size difference is on a completely different level. He jokes about having to look upward just to make eye contact with Joshua, yet he still tries to keep the trademark confidence he shows before big events. Jake wants fans to believe that belief alone can carry him through against a giant who has smashed real contenders and held major heavyweight belts. He tries to frame the fight as a lesson for young fighters' courage over fear. But the truth inside the ring is different, especially when the opponent is a heavyweight with proven knockout power.
The year, you, Anthony Joshua, how we doing?
Dude, never been better. This is what I dreamed of. This is what I manifested into reality. I'm here to shock the world, inspire the next generation. We're in the Heat arena. I'm a big Heat fan. Miami's on fire. This is my first pro fight, was in Miami against Gibb. I'm bringing that same energy here. First round KO.
And the Schmo interviewed you there. When you fought Gibb, it was on Fight TV. We've been with you along the way. Not very many times you're looking up at a face-off. So what did you make of looking up for one of the very first times at a face-off right here?
Just looking up at Daddy there and just seeing, you know, how big he is, and just my eyes were kind of going into his nipples and stuff, which I kind of liked. And then basically I was just like, whoa, he's big in that. And then, yeah, I can't believe how tall he is.
Is this chain really on the line for the winner?
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I mean, I'm down. But he has to put something up, too. There has to be something in it for me.
You say this is the biggest upset that's going to be in boxing history, right up there with 42-1 with Buster Douglas.
Yep.
What is the headline going to be when you knock this guy out and he's laying on the canvas?
Holy...
This comparison becomes a major topic, because Jake has always been seen as a strong figure in his own divisions. But when Oladipo speaks, he calls this matchup a true David versus Goliath scenario. Joshua doesn't just stand taller. He carries a heavyweight frame built through years of elite strength, conditioning, and battles against massive opponents. The difference becomes visually shocking whenever they stand side by side. Even though Jake has added muscle, he still cannot match the natural structure of a lifelong heavyweight. And Oladipo explains that fans are about to witness a rare clash between the fighters, who look like they belong in different categories altogether. For
versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220. Probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes, but I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. This is going to be easy. Give me my money and let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ is that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that good. This was prior to him getting beat by Ruiz.
The conversation around this fight started with people calling it entertainment or a staged show. But those who understand boxing see something different because Anthony Joshua does not carry the mindset of someone participating in a scripted event. His training clips show a heavyweight preparing with full focus, no acting, and no intention of holding back. He has spent his career facing real punchers and real champions, so stepping into the ring is never a performance for him. Meanwhile, Jake tries to push a narrative about shocking the world, but the reality stays the same. Joshua looks ready to enter with force and erase every doubt surrounding this matchup. 5.
Next month, that is for money, as opposed to boxing and boxing merit, is Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul. How much are the boundaries of safety, Frank, being pushed for entertainment purposes here?
No, look, obviously we are in a dangerous sport. We have to accept that. And obviously the people looking after Jake Paul, if I was managing or promoting Jake Paul, would I say this is the right move for Jake Paul? Probably not, being completely honest with you. But he's put himself in a position, was Jake Paul Mike Tyson a sensible thing to do? To a 58-year-old man, or 60, I'm not sure what Mike is, but was that sensible? Probably not. And I would have said that at the time, but it's the world we live in now. And the reality is a lot of people are going to watch it, but we also at the same time have to make the sport as safe as possible and put everything in place around it to ensure that. And that's what the commission, the Florida State Athletic Commission, will be doing, as will the promoters of the event.
So, I mean, Frank, not to finish on too much of a negative, but it begs the question, if Anthony Joshua ends up inflicting considerable damage on Jake Paul, how much does that reflect on you and Matchroom?
I think we go into the fight. We got offered a proposition to do this fight. Anthony Joshua accepted it. Jake Paul's put himself in a position to take that fight, and that's the reality, Jake Paul. But we all want everything we do in this sport. We want to make it as safe as we possibly can, but we have to accept the risks attached to it.
And this is risky, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it is risky. I think Jake Paul's crazy. I think he's delusional. But respect to him for doing it, and he's getting a load of money.
And Frank, just to silence all the doubters here, a lot of people saying this can't be real, Anthony Joshua going in there, it must be an exhibition, or Anthony Joshua's it's going to be choreographed and Anthony's going to carry him through a couple of rounds. I know Anthony Joshua, just to silence all those doubters, he's going to go in there to do a job, right?
He gives his opinion. He expresses confusion about how such a fight was even arranged, because the difference in weight classes, experience, power, and risk is enormous. He questions the reasoning behind placing a heavyweight with destructive knockout power against someone who is still building his resume through smaller challenges. Shalom explains that boxing usually follows a structured path, where fighters move step by step toward bigger threats. But this matchup feels like it exists outside every normal rule. To him, the fight carries unusual energy because Jake is stepping into danger he has never experienced and facing pressure he cannot fully comprehend.
So I credit to them and what they're earning and everything around that, and it's almost quite unbelievable that it's happening. But what can I comment on? Like, I'm a boxing promoter, but you're talking about a YouTube cruiserweight fight. It doesn't make sense to me. I've got no comment on it, but it's an unbelievable spectacle, and they're going to make a lot of money. But yeah, I'm not the person to ask about that.
Chael Sonnen speaks in his usual straightforward style, saying many people doubt whether the fight will happen, but he understands how committed Jake is to making it real. He jokes that Jake would call out Joshua even on the morning of the event if he had to, but reminds everyone that boxing doesn't work that way. Sonnen explains that Jake is paying for almost everything from promotion to press events, because he is not only the fighter, but also the promoter, meaning the entire operation rests on his shoulders. That responsibility puts his money, time, and reputation on the line. And Sonnen believes Jake created this path himself, so he must carry all the pressure that comes with it.